Okay, good to
Okay,
go, Nick.
perfect. Thanks. So today we're just going to go through the web portal, explain what it is and what you can do with it. And we're just going to go through some of the settings and we're going to take a look at the portal and actually how it renders. And there's quite a few things you can do, and there's quite a few features that we're going to be adding to it. Um, there is some misconceptions out there. You know, the web portal, the app. I have to go to the app store. So I'm going to ask if Ryan, I'll just watch the admins. If you just sort of want to explain what a
Yep.
progressive web app and sort of the nuances behind the, what exactly we developed here.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So basically, what we've built here is it's two in one. So basically, it is a web portal, so you can access it through your web browser. You go to like whatever your clinic is, abcclinic.notero.com, and that will load up your branded web portal. We call it a web portal because it's more than just online booking. You absolutely can do everything you can do with classic online booking in the portal, but you can do more, and you will continue to be able to do more as we add more features to it. Um, the second thing that the web portal is an app. It's an installable app for iOS and Android devices under your own brand. So yeah, so basically you'll be able to, or your patients will be able to go to your portal on their phones. And if they want to, they can install that as an app onto their phones. So your own branded icon will appear on their home screen alongside any of their other apps. And it will open and function very much like a native app that you would download from, say, the App Store or the Google Play Store. So and so this is like a level of marketing and branding and that you typically wouldn't get unless you built your own app. And we specifically did this because we care about your brand, and we know that you care about your brand, rather than building a Notero for patients app where our brand overtakes it. And we thought that it would be better if your brand could be what's shown on the device. So we're definitely brand conscious about that for you. Um, so yeah, and with that comes a bunch of things that you can do. So you of course you can get your own custom domain, subdomain, so that you don't have a really long unreadable domain. You can just have like abcmassage.notero.com, and that's easy to say, easy to print, easy to type, and you just link to it from your website. Um, Again, I mentioned it's your brand, so you set your color, you set your logo, you set your app icon, your app name, and all that. As well, it comes with dedicated landing pages for different resources. So whether it's a location, you have multiple locations, or multiple practitioners or multiple services, every one of those locations, practitioners, and services each have their own dedicated link. So if you have a website that you want to link to a specific service in your Notero app, or you want to link to a specific practitioner, you have the ability to do that, and location as well. One other thing is the ability to support Square. So Square is fully supported in the online booking process in the portal, something that's not possible in classic online booking. So for those of you that use Square and you want to collect a card or collect a deposit or collect a full payment to book, that's possible in the portal as well. And Bamboro is also supported. There's also modules. So there's the ability to turn on and off different modules in the portal. And right now we have a forms module, so you can show all the outstanding forms that a patient has to fill in, and they can see that on their phone as well. They'll have a dashboard. Well, they have a dashboard when they log in, and they can see anything that they have any actions to take. And if they have outstanding forms, it appears on their dashboard. We'll also be looking to improve the app in general to do things like if you ever have like an unread email, for example, your app will show a badge that says like 1, 2, 3 or something like that. We have plans to add that type of support as well. So if they have an outstanding form, it will show up on their app with a little badge that says there's an unread notification or something. So more and more like native like functionality on the phones will come. They also have the ability to manage their credit cards, something that's not fully possible on the clinic app or on the classic online booking. And what we have coming next as well is the ability to manage their wait list. So if they want to be on the wait list, if you turn this feature on, so they're all optional. But if you decide to turn these features on, then you can allow them to manage their own wait list, to say that they want to be on a wait list for, say, for Thursday afternoons or something like that. They can do that themselves. They will eventually they'll also be able to see any of their invoices and even pay their invoices if they're outstanding. And as well, clinical notes. If you deem certain clinical notes to be visible to the patient for whatever reason, the ability for them to actually view and download those. Again, all of this is optional. You don't have to use any of those features, but they are available, or they will become available as we further update the app, and more beyond that. So yeah, I mean, basically everything I just talked about is what is different from classic online booking and the web portal and app. So classic online booking, really just basic online booking, but all of our effort and our future functionality will be coming to the patient portal. So that's kind of the high level of it, and Nick's gonna actually take over from here and actually walk us through it. So.
Okay, so I am going to go through some of the settings. If you do have any questions, there is a chat. Ryan will be monitoring the chat. There's a few questions there. So if you just want to see, can you see my screen, Ryan, moving around?
Yep. I see your dashboard.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to go through some of the settings. I'm not going to go through the settings that you may currently have. There might be some new users, so I'm just going to let you know that what you need to set up prior to setting it, whether you're using classic online booking or if you plan to use a portal. There are some things that you need to do ahead of time, and so there are some steps. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because this is about the portal, but we will start with the settings at the top here. So I'm just going to click on the settings and I just go to my base setup. Okay, and so there are things. So when we're looking at location, so these are the resources that you have within the web app, so web portal and app. And so what you're going to need to do is you're going to make sure that when you click on, for example, this setting here, that it's not only visible in the portal, but if you want the person to be able to book by location, it has to be enabled for online booking as well. So there's some settings. There's you have to make sure these are on for example, for the location and the practitioner as well. They've always had, so you have to make sure you have your practitioner set up. So if I go into Nick Gaines, for example, and I go to my online booking settings, there's some cancellations, mid time and max lead time. So how far you want your calendar to show in the future, and some other settings you can do also for online booking. But mainly on this page here, you have to make sure they're allowed to be booked for online booking and they're visible in the client portal. So these two switches need to be on. So sometimes you'll say, why is my practitioner not showing up, or why do I not show up? Come to the base setup. Okay, so this is on the base setup page. And then if we go down here, the same thing with the these are the services. So if I look at the initial assessment, for example, you have the same type of online booking setting. So again, visible in client portal. So there's a slight difference here. So you can have your services visible, but so if you just want to use it as a means of a landing page for someone, as a website to say this is what I do, but it can't be booked, this is just visible. And if you want them to be able to book, you have to click available for online booking, and this is the booking method. So I just want to point this out, that you need to go through the base setup first before you set up your web portal and app. And then second, I'm just going to go to the calendar.
Excuse me, I can't see anything. It's just your name up on the screen. Are you pointing to stuff, or?
If you click view in the top right corner, you can change what you're looking at, and you need to select Nick's screen. But I can further.
I don't see that option. Sorry.
Okay, let me further support you in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. So if we go to the calendar, the other thing you have to do is you have to make sure you put your schedule. So what is here in blue is the schedule, so people can actually book into your schedule. So that's the other common mistake where people will say I can't see my schedule, there's no services available. You have to make sure you put your schedule in it, and that's just by clicking manage schedule, and it turns to gray, and then you would just click on here and you would add your schedule, whatever it needs to be. Okay, so I don't want to spend time on adding your schedule to your calendar, but I just want to show you some of the things that you need to do ahead of time before you set up your web portal and app. So let's go to the web portal and app right now and take a look at some of the settings and what this means. So the way I think about this is we had classic online booking, and we've introduced now what's called this web portal and app. And before they had to go to a destination with this very long link, and I've set mine up as complete. So if I go to edit, for example, all you have to do is type the word in. So if you are ABC Clinic, you might want to try ABC Clinic, and the URL that you're going to share, the web address that you're going to share with people, I'm going to share complete.notero.com, and that's all people have to type in, and they'll go to a website. Okay. And again, it's not much different than what we currently have, except there's a lot more features within here. So if you think of it as still very similar to an online booking platform, but there's just a lot more features within there. So I've already set mine up, so I'm just going to close this off. And then once you have it, if I were to change from complete and someone else were to grab complete, they would now have complete .notero.com. Okay, so just make sure you're not going to be switching these back and forth, especially when you're going to be sharing this with someone. The other thing that you need to know as well, if you're sort of in between classic online booking and if you're between the web portal, they both work at the same time. So if someone is going to the classic online booking or someone going to the web portal, they can book from either location. Obviously, it's not desirable, but there is a transition period. So in that transition period where you're trying to support your clients or your patients, we do realize that it's sometimes it's hard to just say, no, you need to go to this address where they've bookmarked the old address. So it will work as long as it's still enabled. Okay, so once you put you have a web address that you can share with people, you just have to enable this. So this is going to be disabled, so you make sure you enable it. And these are the features that Ryan was talking about. So these are the 3 features that we currently have. So online booking, most people do one online booking, so you're just going to enable that. Forms, if you want the ability, so if you send a form out to someone and it's incomplete, so this happens a lot where people say, I didn't receive the form. They can just go to the web portal. You can just tell them to log in, and they will see their forms here. And so they have the ability to complete any incomplete forms. And then multi-language. So this is another feature. I'm not sure if Ryan mentioned this. So they can basically view the web portal in their native language. And I'll show you that. I'll demo that for you to see how that works. And then coming soon, we have waitlist. This is the next feature that we will be developing. That's going to be coming very, very soon. And then we're going to be doing invoices and receipts, and then probably clinic notes. So that's going to be the order that we're going to be doing. But waitlist, we get this question all the time. Can patients or clients add themselves to a waitlist? And yes, they can by once this is enabled, and you just have to enable it within your portal. Okay, so this clinic branded app. So this is the icon that Ryan was talking about. So if we go back to this little device up here, and right here, this is where your icon will appear. It'll appear alongside with all the other apps on their phone or on their device. So this is the benefit. So it'll be your branded. And so right now we just show the Notero, but it doesn't show Notero. If you don't put anything in here, it's going to grab the first letter of whatever your clinic name is, and it'll put it in there. So I actually want to put a logo in here. And so I'm just going to upload a logo. It's pretty simple. And I'm going to grab this image that I have. Okay, and then it's just an image, and I'm going to save changes. I don't know, Ryan, if you, because I mean, this is something that you're pretty passionate about logos for their device. If you just want to mention your thoughts on that. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Shara. So I went through this myself, and I set up most of it. For the billing purposes, my thing is just, I had a client book through the whole process, and I put in my logo, and I have my Bambora account set up. My thing is like,
okay, so yeah,
for when they process their fees, how do I know if their user account that each person has their user account is set up through that? Are you going to go through that?
Yeah, we're going to go through that. So we'll just save the questions to the end, or you can do it in the chat.
Or ask, or just message in the chat. Yeah, I'm answering direct messages as well for specific questions, and then I'll probably summarize them at the end. So
okay,
yeah,
thanks.
You're welcome.
So Ryan, if you just want to mention, the type of icon you should be using, if you can.
Yeah. So ideally, what you want to do is you want a square icon. That's going to be best for both Android and Apple. And you want a little bit of padding on the edges. So you don't want your logo going right to the edge. You want to have a little bit of padding around the edges so that it just looks nice and clean. If your logo is very wide relative to its height, then you need to pick a piece of your logo, like maybe a letter or something, but you may not be able to fit in a visually pleasing way your entire logo if it's a very long logo. So pick up a square portion of it. People are used to that. Even if you look at the Notero logo, our app only has the O in the Notero, not the entire word, because it fits better. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, and then if I go back to the, the edit of this, for example, you'll see right here, this is what it's going to look like. I went through that very quickly. So there's my complete and there's my logo, and that's what it's going to look like. And that's the short name that you're going to be putting in here, and it's only have to be 12 characters. So again, if you have a long clinic name, you're going to want to, so my clinic name is Complete Physiotherapy, for example, but I'm only putting complete in there, and so people can see it and they know exactly, the logo, they're very familiar with it, and so when they have to find it on their device, they'll be able to find it on their device. And then you have some color that you can pick, and there's a color picker here, and so if you want to match it up to your logo or whatever your color palette is, you can also pick a primary color for the app. And then as we go down here, there's just some information. So this is pretty self-explanatory. So this is just a notice bar. I just said our grand opening is this Saturday, some information about the clinic. And then this is really an area that probably needs a bit of attention, the client accounts. So client accounts, when people book online, they do have to have an account. So if they have an existing account, they can use the same account, the same user account that they have. But the client accounts, you have to think of it this way. When someone's booking an appointment, they're going to need to create an account. And so if you check all these boxes, mobile phone, pronouns, address, social referral, that's a lot of boxes to fill out, a lot of fields to fill out just to book an appointment. So at the very least, these are defaulted on and you can't change them, first name, last name, and email address. And I would suggest that if you want to make it easy for someone to create a user account, you might want to grab the mobile phone number because if they put the email address in wrong, you want another means of contacting them. All the additional fields are not necessary because you're going to probably use an intake form and you're going to grab that information. However, you do want to grab that information, that's up to you. So again, just keep that in mind when people are creating a user account to book book an appointment. It just is a lot of additional fields to complete just to create a user account. So again, I always just recommend you just leave it on mobile phone. And then we come down to the online booking settings, the availability. That's what I talked about when I was in the calendar. You have to put your schedule in, and then online booking increments. This is another area of somewhat confusion for people. This has nothing to do with services. This is literally how we display the available time to book. So if your day was available from 8 to 5 and there wasn't a single appointment on, we would display starting at 8 o'clock, and it'd go 8, 8:30, 9, 9:30, and so on. So again, regardless of what service they pick, it's going to be every 30 minutes, unless of course you have cluster booking on, and cluster booking books appointments around existing appointments. Okay, so that's what the increments are about. And then the online booking policy, you do have to go to the template section, and you're going to need to create your online booking policy. And then in the drop down, once you create a policy, an agreement in the templates, you'll be able to select it here. And once you have an agreement, you can have that as an online booking policy, and they have to agree to it. Once they agree to it, it'll be saved to their profile. So for example, if you have a cancellation policy and it explicitly states that you're going to be charging their card if they don't show up, for example, you will have that saved. It'll be date and timestamp when they've agreed to that. Okay, so that's the online booking policy. Next is the payment processing. So I have Square hooked up, and I have a few options here. At this time, I don't want to collect a credit card. I don't want to have require a credit card on payment. I don't want a deposit, and I definitely don't want full payment. So this is the overall payment policy for all my services. And if I come down to my services, for example, when I come down there, I can override this policy, and we're going to take a look at that in a second. And those resources, this is the resources that I was referring to in the base setup. This is why I said you need to set these up first, and then we just show you very quickly at a quick glance of if they're visible or if they can book online. You can always click into him. You can always access the edit for any of these locations, so you don't have to go to the base setup page if you want to make any additional changes, so you don't have to keep going back and forth. So it's available by just clicking on the person's name, for example. And then we come down to the service section, and it's visible. And this is where a bit of confusion comes into this booking online and booking method here. So for example, I want it visible. If I toggle this off and the booking method is text, they're not going to be able to book, because you have to have the ability to book online. So the way it works is I book online and the booking method is text. So if I try and click on this, there's going to be a little pop-up that comes up to say that you have to text a book, and all these others that you can book through are online. Okay, and then once you're done with all that, you just hit save, and then your portal's ready to go. One other thing I do want to mention here is that you can add images. These are all images, and you can there's a little icon here, a little thumbnail. If you click on it, you can add an image. And so this is the image I've used. If you want to replace images or you want to browse the library, there's a little link up here if you don't have an image. And you can see that I can upload it from a device. I can use, these are websites that will take you to. One is Unsplash or Pexels. They have a lot of royalty-free images. In Shutterstock and iStock, you'd have to pay for the images. Just because you pay doesn't mean they're going to be necessarily expensive, but you just have sometimes a better selection. So if you want to pay for the images, so just be careful. If you're using images, if you just grab them from the internet, you may be getting a letter, say, for example, from Getty Images to say that you're not allowed to use that because you haven't purchased the rights to use that image. So when you're using images, just be careful that you make sure you're using the royalty-free images or you've purchased the images to use. Okay. Are there any questions Are there any questions on this page?
There were a few that came in while in the chat that I think are worth clarifying. If you use Classic Online Booking right now and you turn on the portal, they both work at the same time. So you can use it as a way to transition slowly until you turn off Classic Online Booking. Another one is if you set a subdomain and then you change it to a different one, the previous subdomain that you've chosen is no longer active and actually could be claimed by another clinic. So you'll just want to be, just be aware of that. Patients, the accounts that the patients already have in Classic Online Booking are the same in portals. So they don't need new accounts. And if you ever are not sure which user account they have, or they're not sure, you can always just go to their patient profile and under the user accounts tab, you can see which user accounts they have. Those are really the common ones that came through that I thought were appropriate. And also there is the ability to book for multiple people. So one user account can be connected to multiple patient profiles. So if there's one person in a household that books for other people, then they can have access to all of those profiles for booking. So
will the client be able to set that up ever for themselves?
To add themselves to other profiles?
Yeah.
Probably not from like a security and privacy perspective. But I mean, it could be considered. It's always something that we could always submit to our product team and consider, but it's not something on the roadmap at this point.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I have a question. So you guys have most of these are clinics, but I run a mobile business. And with that, I'm going to people's homes. So with the payment processing, having that set up and requiring like full payment, like, does it really matter or just having a credit card? Because I have it set up for like full payment.
It's up to you and how you want to operate. If you want to collect the full payment up front or you want to hold that card for whatever reason, if you need to charge them later, that's also possible. It's really just whatever your preference is.
Oh, okay. So if I have the question, so if I hold the card, where would that be processed? Like I just don't know that part. So if I say
you're either integrated with Square or Bambora. And if you're holding a card, because we don't store cards in our system, that's always stored with a third party, either Square or Bambora. The card is accessible in Notero, but it's stored in those parties. And then when you process, it actually will process the card and the money will be deposited to your bank account based on whatever you set up with those processors.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay. Thank you. Greatly appreciate it.
Welcome. Yeah. We will move on to the what it actually looks like. You can see my screen?
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
So what we're mimicking here is a mobile device. It's not exact, but it's pretty close to what it's going to do. And I'll just go through some of the features. So this little icon at the top here, so you can change it. So if I want to change my language to French, for example, I can change it, and they can now, as you can see, it's changed over in French, and so they can now view the application in their native language. Okay, so I'll put it back to English because I'm not going to understand what I'm looking at. Okay, so I have it back to English. So that's just quickly changing it. This is logged in. We'll log in a second. I'll go through the workflow. This is just a home screen. We're already on it. And this little icon just shows you how to download it as an app, because it is a progressive web app. They don't go to the app store. on a device, we will actually, provide some instructions on how to install that app. Okay. So as we go through, you can see, some of the differences from classic online booking. It was a giant list. So we now have it by category, and there's a scroll. You can scroll from right to left. Same with, so these are my categories that I have. I have, everything from classes in here to massage. And the other benefit too is, again, you can see the color that I was talking about, branding, the pictures. And so the pictures make a big difference. And so if you don't add photos, it's okay, because there is a placeholder right now, but they're all the same placeholder. So the benefit of adding, the benefit of adding a photo, because it makes it look a lot nicer. So you can now book by service. You can book by practitioner if you want, or you can book by location. And this is what I mean by viewing it. So the viewing in the booking online, that again, you have to have both if you want them to book through. Okay, so let's take a look at the actual workflow. So I will, the initial assessment, I think I had that turned on. Let's just see what I had that turned on to. And if I view my booking options, it will be text to book. Okay, so if they click on this on their device, it'll open up whatever text means, or whatever type of device, and they'll be able to text you a message that they want to book an appointment if that's what you have it set to. So let's actually go back, because I don't want to work through that workflow, and we'll just do an initial assessment for manual therapy. And then you have the ability, so there's only one duration, so it's 90 minutes. I do have an icon here if I want further information on the service, and I can see, what the service info is on this. I can go right to the service page if I wanted to, and there's the ability to book from the service page. So there's only a 90-minute duration. If there's other durations, they would be listed here as well. Again, on classic online booking, what we did is we had just a giant list. So if you had one service with 4 durations, it just listed it over and over again. So it's all on one page now, so you're not jumping around. And again, you can select by practitioner, or you can, you can change the location as well. I'm okay with any practitioner, and then I just have to select a date and time, for example. And again, they just go through, and they would just select a date and time, and they can scroll through the times. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to leave my selections here, and I'm just going to check out. Gives you a little summary before you proceed to book, and it'll give you the total, the cost of the service that you're booking, and I'm just going to go to proceed to book. Now I'm not logged in now, so I'm just going to log in. I'm not going to create an account because I already have an account. Hopefully I can remember this email if it's not saved, and it's saved. Thank you. And now I'm logged in, and so you can see your appointment is booked. And so my appointment is booked. It gives you a little indication. I have email reminders set. If the person doesn't want an email reminder, they can toggle that off if they want to, and they can go now to the view appointments, or they can close this. So let's just go to the view appointments and see what that looks like. So here are all my appointments. So I have, these are all my past appointments. This is the appointment that we just booked, so I can click into it if I want. And again, it just shows that there's a form as well with this, because I had form automation on. So there's also a pending form. So we show that as well. That's new. Any past appointments. So if they said, I want to book that past appointment again, you can just click on that and rebook that past appointment. It's going to go to the calendar. So that's also new. So if they had an appointment that's sort of like a favorite, or they want to come back to it, they can just quickly go through their appointments page here. So I'm on the appointments icon. I can go back to the home page, but I'm going to go actually into the dashboard, and it says I have 16 forms to complete, and it shows I have an upcoming appointment. So I can go into my forms if I want to, and then I can see all the pending forms. Now, obviously someone's not going to have this many pending forms, and they would just click on this, and it's going to open up the form for them to complete it. Okay, so it shows that this is an insurance form. This is an intake form. It's linked to an initial visit, and so it gives them some information as well. Okay, so we'll just go back to, we'll just go back to the, we'll go back to the home screen, and then we're, back to where we began. If I go to my, my account, let me just, let me just change that here. Let me just log out again, and I just want to go back to a logged out state. And it's just, I mean, it doesn't do this on a mobile device. It's just the way it was rendering. So again, just to come back, and I mean, you can book by practitioner. And then again, I just want to show you this, you know, if you go into the practitioner, the difference is that it shows all the resources that practitioner performs. And so it pulls up all the services that they perform. And then you can select through that if you want to book by location, or sorry, by practitioner. And that's the same for, let me just go back to it's the same for the location. So if you wanted to book by location, it does the same sort of thing, and you can select the services that you want to book, and then the practitioners that perform those services at those locations. So again, it gives you a lot of flexibility versus what we currently had. And so within here, we're going to be adding some more features. So any questions on how this works? And one thing I did mention, I mean, if you were to, a credit card payment was required, they would have had to add a card, and they would have to step through and it would process the card payment through this workflow. Any questions?
Looks like Sarah has a question. You can unmute yourself if you'd like to ask it.
Okay,
I can skip. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
oh yes. Is there a way to, like, I have a mobile service as well as an in-studio service, but my mobile services are only available to certain people based on their needs. Is there a way to allow access to that second location, that mobile location, only to specific people? Does that make sense? Am I being
It makes
clear?
sense. Yeah. There's no direct way to do that in Otero. Nick, I don't know if there's a workaround that you're aware of, but
No, there isn't.
the concept of having essentially like private services and then whitelisting people to be able to book into those services is something in our roadmap, but I wouldn't have an ETA on something like that would be creative.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
But there is, yeah, to just sort of touch on the mobile services, we will be, I mean, that's also something on our roadmap. Not a lot of services sort of pay attention to the mobile practitioners, but we do plan to offer like a suite of features for mobile practitioners. So that's something that as well we'll be developing. Any other questions?
Oh, looks like, okay, so we can go, Sheila. I just asked you to unmute. You can ask your question.
Okay, to piggyback off of the mobile massage, I tried to put in for the booking for the clinic as well as the mobile, but it told me that I had to do it in a different setting, and I tried to, and I couldn't. I don't know. Just specifically how
probably sounds like a support ticket, something specific to your account. I would suggest just emailing us support@notero.com, and we can take a look at your account specifically. That'd be the easiest way to solve that.
Okay.
I couldn't settle him without giving him some food, but once
so there are a few questions that came up in the chat that I thought were probably helpful. One thing is when you set your subdomain, it can only contain characters and numbers. So you can't put you don't put www.yourwebsite.com or anything like that in the subdomain. It's just letters. So just keep that in mind. And I think
sometimes too with that upset stomach kind of.
Yeah, if you can just mute yourself as someone's talking.
I'll just mute her. Yeah, please.
Yeah, exactly.
So, how far out do you think?
Yeah, well, let's try. How
pretty darn full.
Okay, Nick, if you want to just unmute yourself, I just muted everybody. It's just easier. So, but it looks like there wasn't really anything that I thought was a general question in the chat. So, yeah, we could probably just continue. And there's a backlog of questions, so I'll just catch up on those now.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So while you guys were talking, sorry, I tried setting up like as if I was a client using one of my alternate email addresses. And so I set up the client on the thing and that all worked fine. And it gave me an option to install the clinic app, but every time I hit it, nothing actually happens. Is there a setting I'm missing or something? Or
It could be a device specific issue. Are you on Android?
yeah, I'm using an Android device, a Pixel 2.
Yeah. Okay. If you just email us support@notero.com, we can take a look. There's some Android devices that are still a bit finicky with that we're wrapping up, and you might just happen to have one of those.
Okay.
But yeah, just email us support@notero.com. We'll go from there to get your device specs and get that corrected.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know if this helps or not, but I had that same issue with the Android, and it downloaded it into my apps, but it didn't put the icon on my main screen. So I just had to go into my apps and find it.
Yeah. So with the thing about Android is so Apple is very consistent in it because it's all Apple, where Android is distributed by many hardware devices and manufacturers. So they can be a bit different on the Android side. But it's sometimes it's very specific versions or combinations of versions of browsers and hardware and things like that. So if you ever see that or have that problem, just let us know and we can investigate those specifically to try to get any of those final touches corrected. So bit of a moving target on the Android side.
Any other questions?
Nick, I guess
So again, with the app, again, they don't go to an app store. Again, we can't emphasize that even more, and they don't have to. That's the other thing is people get confused and think that they have to use it as an app. They don't. They can just use it. They can bookmark the subdomain or the URL, their web address that you're giving them, and they just have to. They can go there and they can log in, and they will be logged in for a certain amount of time, so they don't have to keep logging in and logging out. At some point, it'll eventually log them out. But again, the benefit of having the app, if they can, once they install it on their phone, is that they just have to click on it, and it becomes very easy, and you become very accessible. Your clinic becomes very accessible for them to book. If there are no other questions, there's two things you can do. You can message us directly by just clicking on the question mark if you have further questions, or you can ask a question now. If not, we will just be ending this in a few minutes. And thanks for taking the time. And,
I have a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
What is that website for the images?
It's in the when you click on the little thumbnail on the web portal, right beside the services. So if you're in the services, in the resource section on services, that little blue box at the very to the left of your services, if you click on that, the images will come up, and we put links at the very top, and one is Pexels and one is Unsplash. And so if you click on those, it takes you right to the page. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Any
quick question.
Yeah, sure.
Any plans in the future as practitioners within the app to be able to do any kind of soap notes, notation straight from there, or do we still have to just log into the normal web?
Ryan, if you want to, because you can download it right now. If Ryan,
sorry, I was typing an answer to a question. It was, can you do your
do the app right
within...
now as a prac? As a
so the patient portal, like everything running under your own subdomain, is a patient experience only. Notero itself has its own version of this, its own app that can be installed onto your phone through similar way. So add to home screen on the iPhone, or install from the 3-dot menu on Android. But they'd be separate apps. So yeah, so there's one common app for Notero as a staff member, and then there's infinite number of clinic apps based on those subdomains.
Any other questions?
I do.
Okay.
My question, I was talking to Ryan in the chat about patients forgetting their email account. Ryan, what was it that you're talking about? They can see their account.
Oh, so if a patient, were you asking about the patient doesn't know what their account is?
Yeah, so like I've had several of them say I can't go on to online booking because I forgot my my password. And so they've got their email, and I assume that they're saying I forgot my password when they go through all that, but they're still stuck. So now that we're texting back and forth and not doing it online.
Yeah. If they know what the email is, if you see what Nick's doing, he's going to click continue. They have an option here to click forgot password, and it would send them a password reset link. If they don't know what their email address is, then they have to contact you and you have to look it up in their file.
Okay, so there would have been that same, okay, so you're saying the email is definitely the email they have on file with me then?
So there's two emails. Yeah,
so go ahead, Roy.
there's the patient profile email, which is the one stored in the profile, but then within the patient profile is user accounts. There can be an unlimited number, essentially, of user account emails, and those are used for logging in, where the patient profile email is just their master email for any kind of like reminder.
Can you put that on the screen as a visual? Can you do that? Like,
Yeah, here, I'll switch.
Sure, what you're talking about.
I'll grab it. Just 1 sec.
Thank you.
Let me just switch screens.
There is a question here about integrating Zoom. There is plans to integrate Zoom into Notero, no timeline, but the temporary solution to that is to create a common Zoom link and put it in your reminder emails and say, hey, if this is a virtual appointment, use this link to connect with me, and then you just simply use the Zoom waiting room to administer them into the meeting.
So this is what we're talking about here. So if I go to, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I go to, if I go to Harry's profile, for example, this is what we're referring to. So if I expand this is the profile here that, you know, you'd communicate with them. And so here's this is the email that Ryan was referring to. This is not their user account. So if you look at this and you edit profile, this is the email that you have stored on the profile. This is not the user account. The user account email is down here. So this is what they've been logging in with. He doesn't have an email that he logs in with. And so if he did, it would be listed here, for example.
Okay, so under user accounts. Okay, and that's the email I'd say, hey, you'd be using that user account email and set that up. Okay.
So when we, go ahead, Ryan.
Go ahead. It's fine. No, it's fine. Go ahead.
No, so they may, like when you send an invite to them, they may change that. So the invite might go to this email, for example. Like you can invite them as well. So see where I said add user account. So instead of someone going to whether using classic online booking or whether you're using the web portal, if you add a user account, send them an invitation, they will set up their login prior to even hitting either classic online booking or the web portal. So that's also possible as well, that you can add an invite to them prior to. So if I were to select add user account, it's grabbing this email. It's going to send this email, the invitation to this email. The person can change it. So they may not want to use this email to log in with. And so that's why you can have a difference of you can have different emails, for example.
Okay.
Okay. So I might as well touch on this one other point too. So if you go to your client listing page or patient listing page, so these are all the profiles. Doesn't mean they all have user accounts. If I want to bulk invite everyone, so they don't have to create, I can do it ahead of time, and I can just bulk invite users, and it's going to show everyone that does not have a user account in my clinic. And so I can select them all if I wanted to, and it's going to send 500 invitations at a time. Once an invitation has been set, they won't they won't be on this list anymore. Or if they have a user account, they won't show up on this list. So that's another way of sending or bulk sending out invitations. You can do it this way.
Can you say that again? Once you send it out as a bulk user and they don't say yes to it, does it show back up on the list again?
It's after it expires. The link is good for
after that
7
so many days. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and then they'll show back up on the list.
Okay, great.
I have a question. Okay. So the user email, the user account email and the profile email for the patient can be the same.
Can be the same.
They usually
most
are.
often. Yeah, most often they are.
Okay. Thank you.
That's up to them. That's up to them if they don't want to use that email.
I have a question as well along the same lines. I've had clients forget their login information. They don't contact me. They just set up a new user account. When I merge those accounts, which is what I've been doing, does that affect the forms that have been filled out?
No, because
so they all get merged into one profile.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
And this is what's going to happen. I don't have similar, so they end up, so to let people know what we're talking about is if someone creates another user account, a profile will be created for that person. And so, for example, say this Kenny Kent also had a profile, we would display similar profile here, and then at that point you would know that you're probably going to want to merge them if it's the same person. If you don't merge them, if you just accept them, you're going to have two profiles. It's not a big deal. You can always come to your client listing page and you can always just click this and it's going to show, and I don't have any duplicates, but if you had any duplicates, you could click on this little button right here and it's going to bring up all your duplicates and you can see what you need to merge. So if you miss it when you're accepting them into your clinic, it's not a big deal.
And one thing I just want to mention, Nick, if you want to go to the dashboard, just a shameless plug here for the referral link. If you are liking what you see and you want to let your friends know about Notero, if you click the invite friends button here, you can notify them of your referral link. And if they sign up for an account, well, they'll get a 60-day trial instead of 30. But if they sign up for a paid account, you'll get a free month added to your subscription. So yeah, obviously, share if you like it, and we'll send you more time on your trial or on your subscription.
Any other questions?
Sorry, I didn't see where you went to do the bulk invite.
Okay, I'll do that. Sorry, I went through it quickly. It's just right here in your client or your patient listing page.
Okay.
Okay, so I just clicked on that. And keep in mind, these 3 dots here, these are always drop-down menus. Okay, so there's a drop-down menu right here, and I just clicked on that drop-down right beside Add Client, and I get the drop-down of bulk invite users.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So if you're ever looking for something, it's probably in a drop-down menu, which we use as the 3-dot menu.
Hey guys, I have a question on this page. What are the exclamation marks in the triangles for?
Those are just alerts that I had set on Mary Brown. I don't know what the alert is. There's the alert. So rebook for orthotics. So you can add an alert. These are labels. You can add labels if you want to their. A label would be something that you would use amongst all your profiles. So for example, if I wanted to see who I'm not supposed to treat the neck, I don't have anyone. If I want to see all my chatty people, there's all my chatty people that come up. And when you book an appointment, these labels will show on the appointment as well. Whereas when you're booking an appointment, the alerts will show up when you're booking an appointment. After you book the appointment, all these labels will show up. So this one is just a reminder to rebook orthotics. It doesn't have to be, when you're talking about an alert, it doesn't have to be the person's allergic to something, or it doesn't have to alert you to something, some sort of warning. So it can be used for anything. And this one just says, I don't know, peanut allergy. So there's a 2, and you just go to their profile, and it's very simple to add alert. Again, there's an alert on here. It's just in the drop down right here. Okay, and you can click this, and then you can modify the alert. So I can take this off, I can delete it, or whatever I want, and it'll put it. The nice thing about it is that alert comes up when you're booking an appointment. These come up after you book the appointment, but if there's something that you need it to be notified of at the time of booking, then you use the alert. That's one reason why you'd use the alert. Any other questions? You're welcome.
I have a quick one. Oh, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so sorry, I just wanted to understand real quick about the difference between like the web and the Android part. So if patients already have an account and we go ahead and get this app all set to go and reprogram it with the new, web link or whatever, we have to send out that link for patients to be able to now book again.
So you may want to keep both running at the same time just to avoid confusion, so that somebody, if they do stumble on the old link, like your classic online booking, it still works, but you would just start to promote your new link, and then slowly you would just get more people using that. Eventually, what we'll probably do is allow you to redirect traffic from your classic online booking link that just takes you to the portal to phase it out completely. It's just not possible yet, but that is something we plan to do.
So the goal is
question,
to totally phase out classic booking and move
yeah, but
solely to the
that could be a
okay.
timeline of years. Like we'll see
Okay.
what the adoption is like, but
Okay.
it's based on, you know, based on how things play out. But the plan is to really make web portal, you know, the best thing possible. A couple questions in here that are just generic. Can Notero calendar link to Google Calendar? Yes. So you can sync your Notero calendar to Google Calendar. We're currently working on and near completion of the other direction. So personal events in your Google Calendar appearing in Notero. So yeah, two-way sync basically. So that's coming. And will you be able to will you be adding a way to embed online booking or the portal to a WordPress website? So you can link to the portal. You can currently embed classic online booking, but we're holding the web portal to a higher security standard. And so for that reason, we're not allowing embedding of the web portal into third-party websites at this time. But we definitely recommend you just put a link on your site to go to the portal. It's generally a better user experience anyways than trying to browse and use a website within another website. How do I turn off classic online booking? That's just done in the calendar settings. So you go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, again, you just go to your settings, you go to your calendar, and then there's your classic online booking. You go to your view settings, and it's just a toggle right here. You just toggle it off, and it's saved automatically. There's no save at the bottom, and so now it's been disabled. So if someone were to go to this link, it would not work. And that's what Ryan was talking about, the redirects. So yeah. Right now, I mean, if you were to disable it, they would hit a page and they would get a message, just an error message. So it's best just to keep it enabled when you're in that transition period.
And you can individually disable certain patients, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, you can also, you can also, so if someone you didn't want, so they have a user account, that's another use case. So the Mary Brown has a user account. You can go right into her profile, and she's, for whatever reason, you don't want her to book online anymore, you can just toggle her off. Okay. And save it. And she's now disabled, and she will not be able to book online.
I have a question about, I have Mexican clients, so Hispanics that can't read English. If I'm still in basic, is there a way to change that to their language so they can fill out a form?
So the multi-language is a concept that's only possible in the portal. Classic online booking will likely never get that feature, but forms may get that feature. So like an intake form or an agreement may get that feature. I know it's in our roadmap. The current workaround for that temporarily is to create a Spanish version of the form. But ideally you'd have a translation option on a common form. But that's the plan anyways, is to be able to add that to the forms. So.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
None in the chat.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I did, as you were walking through it, I was basically doing it on my own account. And when I upload my brand logo for the app picture on my computer, it's a white background. As soon as I download it onto my phone, it's a black background.
Are you on Android?
Nope, iPhone.
Can you send us that image in a support ticket and we'll take a look?
Sure.
Support@notero.com. We'll take a look at that specifically.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Mine did that too, but I deleted it and then reinstalled and it came up white without the black background. Just as a side.
Yeah, I did try that. I'm just wondering, it might be the type of image I'm adding.
It could be. It could be. JPEG is probably a good one. No transparencies is generally safer. The transparency effects and the rounding corners and all that stuff is handled by the OS. So just square, edge to edge is ideal.
Okay, I'll play with it a little bit. If I can't get it, I'll send an email.
Okay. There is a question here. So can we bulk hide old patients? I'd like to be able to hide my inactive patients before doing a bulk invite to the new portal. So no, there's not a way to do that currently. There are times where I'm doing an outreach event. Yeah, there is no bulk hide of patients, unfortunately, this time. However, when you are doing the bulk invite, you can unselect certain people. So if you select everybody and then just skim the list for people that you don't want to send it to, that's probably the easiest. Ideal size for the logo image. If you're referring to the app icon, I would say 512 by 512. That is the actual maximum. 512 pixels by 512 pixels, a square. Is there a way to add products along with services? So you can add products into Notero and put them on your invoices and sell them. It's just not a concept in the portal yet. Eventually, you know, there's plans of allowing you to actually have the patient check out with the purchase of products. But that's just not a concept yet on the portal. And there's currently no other questions in the chat.
Question about Square and integration, again, going back to that. So if we enable online booking and credit card required, each time they log on, if they have an account, do they have to re-enter the credit card?
No. So if the card's on file already, they would just select the card or they'd add another one.
Okay. And then so if they miss an appointment and I go to bill that, I bill that via Square, or do I bill that via?
So in Notero, in Notero, you'll have an invoice and you may adjust it or do whatever you need to do, but then you can process to the card on file. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Hi.
Yep.
Sorry, it's Jessica again in regards to that image. Just I figured it out. So JPEG, you're right, works better. I was putting in a ping file. The ping file was turning the background into black.
Yeah. Yeah, it was transparent background. But yes, thanks for letting us know.
Okay. If there are no other questions.
Can you create a service that requires the client to book a separate service first? So service dependent on another service. We don't have a concept like that. I could pass it along to the product team.
All right, yeah, just think of like an intro call that I need in order to do the actual service sort of a thing. But.
Yeah, we don't have a concept like that. You know, you could put that in the description of the services, but yeah, there's no rules like that.
Thank you.
My current book now button on my website would lead to the website, correct? So yeah, so the idea is that on your current websites, to put it to update your book now button to be your portal address instead, and it would just redirect them to your portal and they would continue from there. So do the links change for booking to the portal? So yeah, the link is your portal link. So if you currently have classic online booking and it's linking from your website, you need to update. Once you're ready to go with the portal, you need to update your links on your website to no longer point to classic, instead point to the portal. And there does not appear to be any other questions in the chat as of right now.
Okay, so we will bring this to an end, and thank you for taking the time out. And if you do have any other questions or suggestions that you'd like to see in the web portal and app, just let us know.
Sorry, can I ask one quick thing? I've typed it in the chat, but I think it went directly to Nick and not to the whole thing. Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, sure.
This is a really generic one, so I apologize for all the more seasoned users on here.
No.
I'm new to Notera in total. I've only been on it for a couple of weeks now. So I've watched all the videos on YouTube, and every once in a while, I can't think of an example right off the top of my head right now, but I'm like, oh, I can't figure out how to do this. And when I try typing in the little question box on the help feature, it's not always finding me what I need. Is there a better resource or like a whole manual somewhere that I'm missing or something that just like walks through every stupid little tiny step?
So I think the best thing in that case would be is if you're not able to find an answer, just note all your questions and then book a call. We'll just run through the questions just like we're doing right now. That's usually the easiest. So
okay.
But if you need something, yeah, but if you need something in real time, when you're clicking on the question mark, send a support request in, and that'll get answered fairly quickly.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
We are recording this and we will be sharing the recording on our YouTube channel. We'll also send an email out to the participants, just letting them know that the recording was done. So.
Okay, thanks everyone again.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
you.
Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.